Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the number one way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
This episode of Under the Apron is sponsored by Anchor. If you haven't heard yet, Anchor by Spotify is the easiest way to make a podcast with all the tools you need, all in one place. Just type in anchor.fm on your browser and start creating that podcast that you've been talking about starting all year long. Take advantage of Anchor's creation tools. You can record, edit, add music, or any type of audio you like right from your phone or computer. Anchor will then distribute your podcast on many different listening platforms, such as Spotify, Apple, Google, or even Stitcher, and that's just to name a few. It's everything you need to make a podcast. And want to know what's the best part about it? Absolutely, totally free. Join us and download the Anchor app on your phone or go to anchor.fm on your browser to get started right away. Link will be in the show notes.
What is up? This is Fuck It, Let's Talk with your host, Christine. Monthly, I'll be here to discuss the ups and woes of parenting and explore topics with other parents, or not parents, in hopes of finding a little sanity. Just a warning, the keyword here is puke. Eventually you'll get it. So come join me where we explore honest takes on parenting and life. Don't forget to follow on Spotify or subscribe wherever else the podcast is available. Be sure to check out the polls on Anchor, where you can also show some support if it tickles your fancy. And if you want more, head on over to the newsletter, F It Let's Talk on WordPress. I look forward to chatting with you. Fuck it. Let's talk.
I was asked the other day my own question in a chat room. I opened up the lines of communications and I was asked which wrestlers have I met and which one was my favorite. I had a lot of responses in my head and a few came to mind in my head right away. I guess you could say this episode is going to be a one-off side quest special of me rambling about the times I met a few wrestlers. I have a lot of stories, actually. I may turn this into a segment. Let's play the intro first. Welcome back, streamers, podcasters, and listening friends. It is I, your favorite storyteller, to get you through a smooth talking story and possibly put you to sleep. I don't know how to take that. You are listening to another incredible episode of Something Something Cody Rhodes. Sorry, I had to. I am definitely not hiding, but coming to you where I'm always recording, and that's from Under the Apron. For those that are new here and you just stumbled upon this episode, welcome! I'm your host, Ernie. Taurus, Aries, and Leo rising. I don't know what that means. I was asked that a few weeks ago, so I guess that's a thing. So I went searching for mine, and that's what I found. So Taurus, Aries, and Leo rising. You all figure it out from there if you're into the big three. I digress, like I always do. I talk about wrestling on this podcast. Sometimes I take a deep dive into the 80s and 90s. Sometimes I look forward to talking about what's going on now. Other times I like to talk about my health and how I'm kicking diabetes ass. But my favorite thing I like to do here is, talk to you or by myself or anybody that's listening. I like to think that I'm talking to you face to face. I have 3 stories I want to talk about. But first, let's get to the shout outs. The following friends of the podcast have been sending the support by becoming fans of the show, so I'm sending them a very special shout out to them. Goody Girl, Menace Smiling, Lust for Life, Brenda Lamore, A is Danny, Silent Assassin, Real Lil Squirrel, Miniature Dancer 51, Little Miss Sunshine 46, Personality Database, I'm so sorry, don't know what that means, Zach WWE, Pheno Alexander, Stop Asking Me Questions 66, Nikki Freckleface, Babbling Brook, Hydrangea Water, Bestie, Babel B, Kaiser 91, Zeltronic, John Decor, Simply Kyle 88. A very special shout out to Psychologic Analysis and Jolene for going back to episode 1 and listening from the very start. Thank you for being in the live streams and holding it down for me, for your support, for following me, or even listening to the podcast. You guys are amazing. It's the only thing I can do is show you guys some love on this podcast. The first story is the story of all stories. It's the first wrestler I ever met. And it's basically one of the questions I ask when I have guests over. We meet wrestlers at comic book conventions, and this story just happens to be the most hilarious one. Not all of them. It's just funny to me. If y'all remember back in the days, Ted DiBiase used to have a bodyguard, so to speak. Virgil. Or when he was in the NWO, he went as Vincent, but I know him best as Virgil. So I'm going to refer to him as that from here on out. Virgil was my first wrestler I ever met. Yeah, I know. Why him? Because I don't know. It just came across as that. This was around 2006. I went to my first comic book convention, and the first person I see is this man selling his autograph. Something funny thing about this, if you remember a few years ago when Scott Hall did a video with him and made fun of Virgil for not selling his autograph pictures, his own autograph pictures, but also pictures of himself with other wrestlers, and raised the prices some, like him and Ted DiBiase, Virgil and Bret Hart on that one team at Survivor Series. And Scott Hall pointed him out, called him out on it, made fun of him. Yeah, good time. If y'all don't know, Virgil is usually the lonely guy sitting in an area all by himself. The fact that I was starstruck enough to go up to him, I don't know. So I decided, hey, let me go meet this guy, and went up to his table and looked at the pictures he was selling at possibly $25 to $40. Like, dude, I have money. I just don't have Virgil money like that. I learned that the hard way, that I should go around the convention and learn the prices of things before I spend money. So instead of 20 minutes in this convention, my gym bag that I take is filled with good t-shirts, comic books, and freebies. Of course, I have room for autograph pictures. I'm just not willing to pay a certain amount after I already spent more than half of what I brought in. So I just check around and look at him, and he's telling me how much they all are. So I say no thanks, but I'll be back after I do some more shopping. I lied. Well, not really. I did come back, but not to buy his stuff. I just wanted a picture of him. Keyword of him. So he's already talking to this actor dude who was in almost every other movie at the time as a stunt double. He has one of those faces, if you've seen him, you'd recognize his face before. And I walk up to him and ask Virgil if I can get a picture of him, and he tells me, we can get a picture together, but I have to pay. I have to pay for a picture with Virgil? What the hell kind of place is this? I then tell him that I don't have money because I spent it all buying crazy shit like toys, comic books. We're at a fucking comic book convention, okay? When I tell you that this man got so upset, at the time I had one of those disposable cameras and I was holding it like my life depended on it. Mr. Virgil, sir, can I get a picture with you, please? It felt like little Timmy asking for more soup, more pudding, more! Please, can I have more soup, please? So Virgil says, you know what? He takes my camera, hands it to the stunt double, and he puts me in the $1 Million Dream. The $1 Million Dream, bro. Josh, the $1 Million Dream. All my life. Fucking hell. Fine. Side quest. For all you gamers, you're all gonna love this. Back in the day, there was an arcade game called WrestleMania. Actual arcade. Not the WrestleMania, the arcade game from the 90s. Not that one. This was back in the late 80s to early 90s. We would always have that one wrestler who had that one move that nobody could escape out of. For us, millennials? For us back then, that was the Ted DiBiase and the $1 Million Dream. No amount of button smashing is going to get you out of this move, no matter what you end up doing, no matter how many quarters you put in there, no matter how many quarters you have on the side. Yeah, no, you're not getting out of it. So back to this story right here. I come full circle. I'm in the $1 Million Dream, and I can't get out of it. But it just so happens to be the most awesome picture because not only was this my first, but it was the most funniest pic I have ever taken with a wrestler. Second most funniest pic I've ever taken with a wrestler. Let me rephrase that because the next story is what it's all about. He applied the move on me and I didn't know how to react, but he said that one was free. The next one, not so much. At the time, I didn't know that Virgil would be going to every comic book convention, every car show convention, everything that ends in convention. Or else I would have taken the picture with me and have him autograph it. Especially now. Here comes the bad news, guys. Since 2018, he has resided in Brownsville, Pennsylvania with his friend and roommate Sean Ranieri. Ranieri, a former union representative and college football coach, came across and quickly befriended Jones, or Virgil, who at that point was almost homeless. On April 16th, 2022, Virgil revealed that he had previously suffered 2 strokes and had been diagnosed with dementia. A month later, he was diagnosed with stage 1 gastrointestinal cancer. Our good wishes, thoughts, and prayers go out to Virgil and his family.
You're listening to Mama Murdered a Podcast. I'm your host, AB. Mama Murdered a Podcast is a podcast where me, the mama, will be killing it on the podcast. We'll be taking a deep dive into things that are hard to talk about and even harder to believe that these things actually happen in the world that we live in. This entire podcast will be a trigger warning. I'll be talking about triggering topics while I dive headfirst into a lot of the cases that I'll be covering. New episodes will be released every week on Wednesdays because nobody likes Mondays and because Fridays are for day drinking and barbecues. Some of the case topics will be murder, of course, serial killers, like Dennis Rader, the BTK killer, missing persons cases, like 5-year-old Summer Wells, who vanished from her own yard in broad daylight in the middle of June in Tennessee in 2021. And especially the ones where it kind of seems like they just vanished into thin air, like Brian Schaefer. He walked into a bar but he never walked out. He's still never been seen again. I'll also be covering cold cases and lesser-known cases. Join me every Wednesday to talk about all things tragic, murder, and things that happen in the downright ugliest sides of society. If you like what you hear and you want to support the podcast, you can rate me on Spotify. You can also leave a review and rating on Apple Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at murdered_mama. All of these things are free and they only take about a second to do, and it really does help grow the podcast. If you have any case suggestions, please send them my way. You can send them to the email address mamamurderedapodcast@gmail.com.
Welcome back, you beautiful podcasters. We're going to get back to the show in just a few short minutes. I'm just here to make sure you got something for February 14th. You know, that special occasion. Whether you're celebrating Valentine, Galentine, or Bra-Lentine, or any other kind of significant occasion that ends in time, make sure to get these two new scents from Dark Fate Creations. First is Everything Coming Up Daisies. It's a light and delicate floral scent. It's like smelling a fresh bouquet of daisies. Second one is First Love, a strong, beautifully bold cherry scent. It'll remind you of deliciously tart cherry candies or a cherry flavored first kiss. It's absolutely mouth-watering. So make sure to check out these and other scents at darkfatecreations.com. And while you're there, don't forget to check out the car diffusers. These wonderful car accessories pack a punch and eliminate unpleasant odors. They last over 3 months, are easy to use, recyclable, and conveniently come in the same scent as the candles and wax melts. I'm still using mine, so it's still good. So say goodbye to cardboard fresheners that last less than a week and enjoy 3 to 4 months of continuous mouth-watering fragrance. Check them out and what they've got in stock at darkfatecreations.com. Link will be in the show notes. Story number 2, The Dance Off. 2008, my, what a time to be alive. 2008, MySpace is running the world and people are mad that they are not in their best friend's top 8. Top 8. What's it top 4? Those that knew how to work in HTML coding knew how to hack it and turn it into a top 25. Nobody would get upset. One of my favorite pictures that I posted on my MySpace was this Polaroid of myself and the next wrestler I'm about to mention. He autographed it himself. He wrote down a personal greeting for me. I went home, scanned it on my scanner, placed it on my big ass CPU, and then transferred the picture to my profile picture on MySpace. That takes a lot of uploading. I'm so glad in 2023 all we gotta do is just send it to the clouds. I don't know what that means either. But a lot of love for that particular picture. A lot of laughs because we were being foolish in that picture, but it was a picture that everyone loved. Okay, so let's rewind back to what we did. 2007, Chicago Comic Con at the Rosemont. For those wondering, it's now called the Donald B. Stephens Convention Center. I'm coming down the escalators, and at the first booth I see Grandmaster Sexay, Brian fucking Christopher. For the unaware, there was a 3-man tag team called Too Cool. Brian Christopher was one of them. The other was Scotty Too Hottie. That's Scotty, the number 2, Hottie, the number 2 in between Scotty and Hottie. And third member was one of the most iconic members of that era. I guess you could say Too Cool added a little dose of Uzi because their father. I guess you could say Too Cool added a little dose of Uzi because their father, Rikishi Fatu, was a part of it. Fatu, usually spelled out Fatu, but since Rikishi was too hip hop, they actually changed the spelling on his last name to reflect that he was in with the crowd, and this group, now spelled Phatu, Fatu, because they decided to borrow from Chris Tucker's dialogue in Money Talks when his character called Charlie Sheen's character's girlfriend Gina Fat, who was played by the gorgeous at the time Heather Locklear. She says, "Excuse me," and then Chris Tucker, I'm sorry, not Charlie, Chris Tucker says, it's an acronym, what he really meant to say is pretty hot and tempting. Call a girl fat now, you better run from your life, because you won't have time to say the next meaning. Hell, you tried calling a girl fat back then, F-A-T, the same thing would happen to your life. Alright, back to the side quest story. All three members would either start their entrance or end the match with a dance-off. They would line up in the middle of the ring. Their song would start, and the three of them had their own unique dance moves. Rikishi would slap his ass and do some break moves. Do the walk like an Egyptian. Scotty 2 Hotty had the worm, the best thing about him. And Grandmaster would what did Grandmaster have exactly? Oh, that's right, some generic hip hop moves like the sprinkler, holding of your leg, and the Charlie Brown and the reverse running man. Those moves, generic moves. Back to the story, I get down to the lower part of the escalator and he's taking pictures with fans so I can line. Line is short. I'm nervous. Virgil was my first, but this guy was my second. How am I going to act? I'm next. What am I going to say exactly? Let's wing it. Just say whatever comes to your head. Come on, you can do this. My brain says, "Hey, you and me, dance off." What the fuck did I just say? I swear to you, it felt like something stopped the vinyl record and scratched it, and people were looking at me. What the hell did come out of my mouth? He laughed. And it wasn't just any normal laugh. You heard this man laugh before, right? It was a hyena laugh. It was a I'm sorry for those of you. I should have warned you. Your ears. He was in character and he was all in. He motions for me to come to him, plays his stereo, and from the speakers comes that beautiful sound of his theme music. Oh shit, it's happening. I didn't know what to do. It was a spur of the moment, me yelling out this blurb, how Lindsay Lohan and Mean Girls say it. Word bomb it. We line up. It's too late to back out. I had people looking at me from all directions. Cosplayers dressed as Superman, Iron Man, Wonder Woman, Catwoman, stormtroopers looking in my direction, at the geeky wrestling guy wearing a black trench coat, some shades, and a Punisher t-shirt. I don't count that as a cosplay. It was something I wanted to wear. It happened. Should I take off the trench? Nope. Let's go. The song plays. This theme right here. I move to the side like he does. I have no rhythm. Yes, I'm Mexican, but I have no rhythm. I can't dance, apparently. I do it anyways. We end up facing each other, and then he says to me, "Kid and play." I know this. We do the kicks, grab each other's hands. We do the spin. The song is over, and we do the b-boy stance. Cross your arms and look like you're in a 90s rap video. Of course, I pay him the money for his time, but we talk about the business. We talk about his father, Jerry Lawler. We talk about him. He tells me the moment right here deserves a picture, and so we turn this to his assistant, who has a Polaroid, takes the picture and gives it to me. He signs it to my friend E-Dog, and then he signs his name, Grandmaster Sexay, Brian Christopher. He wrote to my friend. I cried a little inside that night. It made my day. Whatever happened at this convention, the next 6 hours would mean nothing. It's this moment that I had here with Brian Christopher that made it. I enjoyed that one. I'll never forget it.
Hi everyone, I'm Lisa.
And I'm Dawn.
And if you've ever watched a TV show and thought to yourself, oh my god, that season finale plot twist was absolutely bonkers.
Or seen a movie and thought, wow, I need to talk to somebody about this train wreck immediately.
Then we think you'll fit right in with our podcast, I Hate It, Let's Watch It. We watch TV shows like Riverdale and Emily in Paris.
And movies like Deep Water, Killer Sofa, Rubber, and Deadly Illusions. And we give them the total rinsing they deserve.
It's basically group therapy for movie masochists. So come check us out wherever you stream podcasts.
Movies and feelings. Pop, pop. Bring Your Own Popcorn is a podcast that dives into people and the movies who love them. Let us preach to your choir or stoke your ire as we spiral down memory lane with cult classics, Jurassics, and other genres that rhyme with traffic. What we lack in education, we make up for with comedy, compassion, and camaraderie. I'm your host, Mixtape Majesty, inviting you to join me and an assortment of wonderful guests on fine podcast apps everywhere. Bring your own popcorn.
One of my favorite stories to tell because I felt bad. I met this wrestler while he was about to eat a sandwich and I felt bad. He didn't make me feel bad. I said I felt bad. He said it was fine, but I still was not feeling it. You know that one scene in Bad Santa where Willie, dressed as Mall Santa, is taking his lunch break and trying to eat, and this mom takes her son to visit Santa and tries to disrupt him, and Willie, with a bite of his own sandwich still in his mouth, yells at the mom, "I'm on my fucking break!" I felt like that mom. I felt like I disrupted the flow. I went up to my favorite wrestler of all time and asked him to take a picture with me as well as tell me stories, not knowing that he was about to enjoy his sandwich that was on the table. I saw it later and apologized, but he was cool with it because at the end of the day, Foley is good. This was a Chicago Comic Con in 2008. I was with a friend of mine. His girlfriend at the time had just had a baby the night before, and I kidnapped him for a little while. The whole day, actually. Yeah, she's actually my cousin, and she never lets me live it down. So we went to Comic Con. Iron Man and Incredible Hulk had just come out and were doing great at the box office. Usually I look up who's going to be at the convention before I go, and I know the celebrities are expensive, but I end up going for the cosplayers and the wrestlers because they're a big thing there. So we walk around the convention and finally see the wrestlers area. I notice a line and we immediately go to it. Right next to him is Ted DiBiase and Virgil, who is still mad that nobody is ever there to see him. Meanwhile, I tell DiBiase that he's always been my favorite heel of all time and how it's a travesty that he never won the WWE Championship. Then he reminds me that he did. He bought it off of Andre. You know, Andre the Giant. Of course, we're keeping the facade going. We get to Mick Foley. No, wait, hold on. I'm going too forward. Virgil is pissed. I didn't ask for his autograph. Oh, but everyone is talking to DiBiase. It was funny. I tell Virgil I already have a picture of him doing the $1 Million Dream on me. DiBiase says I should have brought it with me. Virgil agrees. I didn't know Virgil was going to be there with DiBiase, or else I would have. I suggest to him they need to hype up Virgil at these conventions. You're always there, man. You need to be on the cover. He looks at DiBiase. DiBiase does this little thing, looks at me, looks at Virgil, and then he does his iconic laugh. Like, are you serious? So we get to Mick Foley. He's cool with us taking a picture with him, but we have to buy it, no problem. So at this time in his career, He was transitioning from wrestler to commentator on SmackDown, and he was doing that for a few weeks. This night was his final days with the company, and the following weeks he showed up in TNA. This happened to be the day after SmackDown, when Kozlov headbutted Matt Hardy and knocked him out. Mick Foley had said something on commentary that made me laugh. I forgot what, but I gotta go back and look that episode up. So I had a lot of questions for Mick Foley. Luckily, there weren't that many people behind me, and they didn't mind that I was asking these questions. And this was way before I ever knew that I would have a podcast. This was back in 2008, I believe. 14 years later, and I'm sitting here talking to people about the time I met all these awesome wrestlers on a podcast I didn't know I would have. We ended up talking about his career, the fall from the cage at King of the Ring when he's always been asked about. We ended up talking at least 15 to 20 minutes. I'm already here and I want to talk more, so I asked for his autograph on his picture, buy it, and ask him another question. I don't care. I paid a lot of money to meet him. I went to get my $50 worth, so the other fans can wait. I asked him about the SmackDown episode and how he's on commentary. I'd forgotten what he said, but he didn't enjoy it. I tried looking up why he didn't enjoy being on commentary. Foley told Long Island Press pro wrestling columnist Jon Stewart in August 2008 that, quote, creatively the announcing job wasn't working out too well. He expanded with Dave Meltzer on the Observer radio show that the environment was creatively frustrating. Foley allowed his contract with WWE to expire on September 1st, 2008, and quietly left the company. On September 3rd, 2008, Foley's agency Gillespie Talent issued a press release that stated Foley has signed a short-term deal with Total Nonstop Action Wrestling, TNA for short. Foley claimed in the statement to be very excited about the specifics of this agreement and the potential it holds. Foley made his TNA debut on September 5th at a TNA house show, giving a short speech about how he loved the product, in which he also belittled WWE. The official TNA wrestling website featured an image of a smiley face with a variation of Foley's catchphrase, "Have a nice day," and "Before no surrender, have a nice Sunday." Alright, back to the story. I told you earlier about this sandwich. He takes another look at it. I glance over where he stares at. I tell him I don't want to take another minute of his time, and look back at it now. I feel bad because what if he had diabetes? What if he needed to eat? And he was trying to eat, and I kept him from doing so. I wouldn't have wanted that to happen to me, so I'm kind of feeling bad about that now. We leave. My friend and I go back and take more pictures with cosplayers. We see more wrestlers. The Iron Sheik was there, Victoria from WWE, some American Gladiators, which the show was running at the time. It felt like American Ninja Warrior, but different. We get to the main entrance, and it's about that time for the Marvel, DC, and Image people to start throwing out freebie stuff. T-shirts, comic books, toys, whatever they can throw at us, and we get it for free. I caught a few shirts, and I kept putting them in my gym bag, and it's only then that I realized, oh shit. I asked my friend, "Hey, did you grab the picture before we left?" He looks at me puzzled and confused, like I just asked the most silliest question imaginable. Because why? Why would I ask that? I don't know. Maybe because I didn't grab it. Did you grab it? He then realizes where I'm going with this and nods his head from side to side, to which I have this oh shit moment. Like the camera zooming in on me and is rewinding the time to when I practically leave Mick Foley's table without that signed autograph picture. It's still on the table. Fuck. But the thing here is that we have that moment on camera. We took a picture, which I feel so much better because we saw Mick Foley in his natural state. A goofy old man who just wants to have fun. Seconds before we took that picture, he tells my friend that he loves the Chicago White Sox. Can he please borrow that hat? and he can do something silly with it. He takes the White Sox hat, put it on sideways. I freak out and immediately look around. Not in this city, sir. But then again, he's Mick Foley. Who's going to come for him? Absolutely nobody. So the moral of the story is that when I realized I forgot about the picture, I looked for my camera instead. We took a picture that is going to last forever. An unforgettable picture that means a lot to me. 2 wrestling fans and their favorite icon. That's going to do it for us. I know I did the shout out earlier in the day, but this one is different. I mentioned I met a podcaster here on a live while she was doing her stream, but I never mentioned her podcast. I'm going to say it out loud, and I want you to go to her podcast. It's on Spotify as well, and the link will be in the show notes. Shout out to Honestly Truly with Tyler Simone, a weekly conversation that invites listeners to explore and grow in faith, relationships, finances, music, food, and so much more. Quote, my vision for this podcast is to cultivate a community that is honestly and truly transparent about our success and struggles in order to inspire overall growth, end quote. Thank you for letting us support tonight. Those that have been listening, you can find us on all other sort of social or audio streaming platforms at our Linktree, linktree.com/from under the apron. It has the link to our blog, our socials, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, plus any of your favorite audio streaming service devices such as GoodPod, Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio accounts, where you can listen to it as well as leave us a comment or a 5-star review, which helps us be discovered by other fans of wrestling and podcasts, as well as the 20 other music and podcast streaming services. I regularly check the analytics, and we are being listened to on the Fountain app, Pandora, and Pocket Cast, so shout out to those people. Tell your friends. Another big thing I wanted to celebrate. I woke up Tuesday morning to 3,700 downloads. Thank you to all those that have been listening. That was Tuesday. We're now at the Friday, Saturday, whichever day you're listening to this. 3,740 downloads. Thank you to those, again, that have been listening. I really, really, truly, honestly, truly, just like that podcast, appreciate it. Check out the show notes for links to other podcast rates that you heard on this episode. Send us a message of your favorite wrestling stories, questions, comments, ratings, or requests by email. It is from undertheapron@gmail.com, and I will do my best to get to them and answer accordingly. Thank you for listening, joining the live, staying, the gift, and being a huge part of this community. Tell your friends. Join us next time for more stories, movies, and TV show reviews, as well as wrestling-related stories when we come to you from Under the Apron. Have a nice day.